Hello, and welcome back to the Budget Gourmet. I'm Dan. Before we get started in this video, one of our videos, the linguine and clam video, has recently just reached, at the time of filming this, 1,000 views, and we are also at 40 subscribers. I just want to thank you guys so much, and I'm so appreciative, and thank you for continuing to watch and showing your support. On this week's video, are you looking for a cozy meal that feels like a hug in your mouth? Well, stay tuned, because today we're going to make pasta carbonara on a budget. And this dish is like a hug for your tongue. Let's get into it. Okay, pasta carbonara. Let's go over the ingredients. First off, we got pasta. Next we have bacon, eggs, Parmesan cheese, some salt and pepper. Very simple. Prices will vary from location to location. This is just the prices that I saw while I was perusing the store. You might already have some stuff like this in your house. I would assume that you would have salt and pepper, maybe some Parmesan. This would be the total price if you were to get all of this stuff on its own, not including tax, of course. But this is what I actually spent because I already had some of these ingredients. Okay, starting off, we're gonna get our water on and get it to a nice big boil. We're gonna salt the water, make sure it's saltier than the Dead Sea. As we do, going to cover that up so it'll boil faster. Next thing, our mise en place is actually going to be very simple. In terms of our cutting, we're just going to be cutting our bacon. Now, traditionally, you would be using guanciale, and guanciale is actually from the pig's cheek or jowl, but it's a little bit more expensive, so instead of guanciale, I believe we have sugar dale bacon. We're just going to cut the bacon into some thin strips here because when we start cooking, that bacon is going to get smaller and we don't want the bacon to burn up too quickly. Once your bacon is cut, we're going to move on to the second step. Get yourself a big bowl and we're going to crack 4 eggs into our bowl here. Also, traditionally, they would just use the yolks, but I wasn't trying to separate the yolks, and I don't want to be wasteful with anything, so I decided to use the whole egg. But you can use the yolks, just the yolks, if you want to. I believe it will make it a little bit more creamy, but we ain't worried about that here. Now, if you'll notice, I have a little bit of a shell in there, and I couldn't get it out, so we're actually using 5 eggs. And fun tip, you can use a larger piece of your broken eggshell to get out any smaller pieces in your egg mixture. Now we're just going to break up our egg yolks, and we're going to give that a little bit of a whisk, making scrambled eggs. Once it's whisked and it's nice and smooth, we're going to be adding a whole heap ton of our Parmesan. You can use regular Parmesan. I know some people like to use some pecorino. Whatever you have should be fine. Again, we're not going for tradition. We're just going for taste good and cheap. We're going to break up all of those clumps, making sure that it's mixing evenly with our eggs. I added the rest of the cheese because the texture you're going to want to start to see is like a thick pancake batter with maybe a little bit of cornmeal in there. It'll thin out later. Next, we're going to add a lot of our pepper. This is what's going to add that little bit of zing to our final sauce. I just like to cover the top, and I'm going to mix that in. And as we continue to mix, it's going to get a little bit thicker as we go on, almost like an oatmeal. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to get a big pan. We're going to get that onto the heat and then just throw your bacon in there. I have this on like a low to medium heat because I want my bacon to sort of slowly cook down so all of that fat gets rendered out, and we're going to get that beautiful bacon grease, which is going to be essential to our sauce later on. When it's in the pan, you want to make sure that it's all flat so it all cooks evenly. Once everything is flat, you can just sort of let it go, keep an eye on it, make sure you're moving it around every so often. Our water is now boiling, and you know what that means. It's pasta time. If you recall from my linguine video, if you want al dente pasta, just cook 1 minute under the recommended time. I'm using cavatappi Why? Because I think it is a fun shape, and I think the little squiggles hold on to the sauce a little bit better than you would with a regular linguine or angel hair. Make sure you're stirring your pasta every so often so it doesn't clump and stick together. As your pasta is cooking, you're going to notice your bacon rendering out ever so beautifully. We are looking for a nice golden brown. We don't want burnt bacon. Make sure you are continuing to check on it throughout the cooking process. All of that grease that we're getting out of the bacon is going to be essential to our sauce. We are going to set that aside. I also just realized that every dish I've made so far has been unhealthy, so if you're looking for health food, I'm sorry. There's our bacon. Next, what we're going to do with our heat on low, we're going to add our pasta that is finished into our pan. That little bit of pasta water is going to help bring up all of that brown goodness from the pan, which will add another delicious, subtle note to our final product. Next, we are going to add the finishing touches to our sauce. We're going to slowly add the bacon grease into our egg mixture. This is going to help temper the eggs, so when they hit the pan as it's cooking, they're not going to become scrambled and grainy. They're going to have that smooth texture. That bacon grease has cooled down enough to when it's added to the eggs, it's just bringing it up to temp, so when we add it to the pan with our pasta, you're not ending up with scrambled eggs. Next, all we have to do is we're going to add our egg mixture back into our pasta, making sure we get every little last drop. We're going to add a ladle full of your pasta water. The pasta water is going to loosen that thick, clumpy sauce, and it's going to give us that nice, creamy, velvety, cheesy texture that we're looking for in our dish. The final thing to bring this dish all together is we're just going to put our bacon back into the pan and give everything a good mix. If it's too thick, you can add another little bit of pasta water. That's why I tend to do the pasta water a little bit more slowly so you can determine the thickness. But anyway, that's it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys liked this recipe. I hope you give it a try. And hopefully this dish makes your tummy happy and puts a big smile on your face. I'll see you all next week with another video. Goodbye.